Hi all, my name is Olga and I'm the owner of Pole Fitness Seattle in Bellevue, Washington State in the US. I've been the owner of this studio for about 6 years and I've been poling for 15 years. I've started poling in Australia, I poled in the UK, in France, and then in the US, so I've been quite around. Now, I'd like to give you some insights on what you need to look out for when you want to install a pole at home. It's really important that it's installed correctly, that it's safe, that it doesn't fall out and you don't fall on your head. This sport is quite dangerous if you don't do it properly, so we want to avoid that you have any problems. Now, I use in my Studio X pole. I am not working for them, but I have been using their poles for quite some time. I also have a stage at home. And what you need to look out for is really the basics. So my poles are 45mm diameter. This is a standard diameter that the pole community uses for competitions, and it's quite a size that fits all. So we use in our studio, for example, all 45mm. It's a steel, or you can also have a chrome coating, quite a standard as well. You need to look out for any kind of allergies that you might have. So stainless steel is the best. Quite common for everyone and usually no allergies. For chrome there could be some allergies. You can also buy them in brass, so like more golden cover, and that's more sticky. So for a climate where you sweat a lot or it's really hot, for example, brass is quite useful as well. When you install at home, you want to make sure that you buy a pole that either is retractable, so it's pressure mounted pole where it's connected to the floor and the ceiling through pressure as you turn it in. It would have normally a plate and quite a solid base. Mine are half removable or half, let's say, flexible in the way that I have a bracket installed on my ceiling. And it's a bracket, it's called a ball mount. That means if you have a slanted ceiling like this, you can still install the bracket and the pole can go in and be straight down. So if you have a ceiling that's not quite flat, it's quite useful to have those mounts. For me, it's also useful because we use a lot in the studio. I can still remove them, but they're a lot more solid. What else you need to look out for? So this is an X-Pole Professional. That means it's a static and also spinning pole. I have a base here that the X-Pole had released some years ago, where you can turn it on the base, quite simple, and the pole will spin. And then if you make it and you twist it, it becomes a static. So for all beginner moves, we usually use a static pole. We also teach spins on a static. Once you become a little bit more comfortable, you can change it to spinning, but it's the easier way to do that. The older versions would have an Allen key where you need to change. Still fine, can be used, it just takes a little bit more work. When you install at home a pole, you want to make sure that you measure the height between the ceiling and the floor, and the poles are extendable on the bottom for a certain range. X-Pole will give you directions instructions if you need to buy just a base pole plus certain extensions that comes with a joint. But it's really important that you find a beam in the ceiling. So you do not want to install the pole against just the ceiling. A lot of ceilings are nowadays kind of not solid, let's say. And so you don't want to push it against anything where it's just going to break through the ceiling. You do need to buy a beam finder or stud finder, and then you need to find the stud within the ceiling. Once you find that, that's when you're going to mount the pole against. So it's really important you're finding that center. You do not just mount it anywhere. And then for doing any kind of beginner tricks, this is only 8.5 feet, and I'm quite tall. I'm 5'7" or 174 centimeters for Europeans. And for me, this is a little bit short, so I can do some tricks. I can climb, I can invert, but I will have limited height. For beginners learning level 1, level 2, up to basic inversions if you're shorter, this height will be still sufficient for quite some time. And then you want to ensure that you have enough space around the pole. Of course, we don't have huge rooms where we have a lot of space to dance, but if you think about extending your body to the side, so approximately the length of both of your hands, ideally you want to kind of have that range. We usually dance with a higher hand up a little bit closer to the pole, where we use our legs to the side. So anything that can create a nice big circle and a little bit further out would be helpful. If you do not have that space as you're doing the moves, you're going to be thinking of kicking something, touching something, and it's going to be always a little bit problematic. So those would be the key notes I'd like you to think about. If you buy a pole on the internet, there's a lot of suppliers nowadays who just check the reviews, not sure what the quality is. The known makes are really the X pole, Lupid pole. There's a couple of other poles companies that came out. So I would rather spend a bit of money, invest in something you're going to have for a long time and it's good quality, rather than buying supplies or from somewhere that you don't really know. So I hope that helped you a lot. And then if you have any questions, just put them below in the comments. Thank you.